what we're looking at now is for loops, and this is the last type of loop which we're going to have a look at. And this one is a little bit more confusing than the other two, the while and the do while loops, which we've looked at. So just stay with it. So what we've got in the syntax is we're going to say for and open our bracket, and then we're going to say that some variable is assigned, and it's normally a starting value. And then we separate out with a semicolon. And then there's going to be some check, some Boolean operation where, and normally it's that a variable is less than an end value. But we're just checking to see if something is true before we run it. And then at the very end, we're going to have something which is called the iterator. And that's probably by now really confused you. And then it's easy that we're going to have our open brace, the code will go in here, code to repeat or iterate through, and then we'll have our closing brace. Now that looks a touch difficult when I just show you the syntax, so let's do it again, and this time we're going to do it, but we're going to do it with a more practical example. So I'm going to say this time I want to count 5 times, so I'm going to put on the screen 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is 5 times. I'm going to iterate. So I'm going to say 4, and then I'm going to say I is assigned the value of 0 to begin with. And we normally use I as an iterator. And my semicolon. Then I want to compare to see if I is less than 5. This is the end value which I'm going for. It will never reach 5 though, because I'm going for I being less than 5. And then I'm going to say I plus plus. Remember that means I equals I plus 1. And then I'm going to start my loop, and so I'm going to say something like document write I, and then I'm going to end my loop. Now notice inside here, unlike the while loop, I don't have to do an increment. That's done up here. So if we look at how this code flows, it's going to come into for, and it's going to say I is assigned the value of 0. So I is 0. And then it's going to do this comparison. Is I less than 5? Well, yes, 0 is less than 5. So it now flows to here and runs through the loop. So it writes on the screen, so the output on the screen will be 0. And now once it's got to here, it then comes to here and it does this iterator here. I plus plus. So I will now be equal to 1. I equals I plus 1, so 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay. Then it goes and it performs the check again. Is I less than 5? I is 1, it's less than 5. So it flows through again, all the way down back into here. And so now I'm doing my document write again, so my output this time is 1. It comes back to the end, goes up here, and it does the iterator again. So now I becomes 2. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it's less than 5, so we'll do this again. And then I iterate again. Is 3 less than 5? 3 is less than 5, so I do 3. And then 4 is 4 less than 5? Yes, I do 4. And then it comes through and it iterates again, and so I get I being 5 here. Is 5 less than 5? No, it's not. And so from here, it then goes to the end and out of the structure there. Now I'm going to give a few examples of this. One of them will be very similar to this, just to get the hang of this. And it is a more complicated structure, but once you get it, it's probably the most useful type of loop you can use. And so here we go, and we're going to take a look at this one here, and let's see how it works. So I'm going to do a for loop first of all, and this time I'm going to iterate through, and I want it to count 10 times, and it's going to count between 0 and 9. And generally, we always start at 0. There's a good reason for that, and when we get onto arrays, you'll understand why we generally start at 0. So we normally start at 0, and we say less than the number which we're trying to get to. So for I is 0 to 10, write me on the screen, or in my HTML file, write what I is. And so there we get it, all in one go. and we've got 0, and it goes all the way up to 9, but it doesn't display 10 because when it gets to 10, it's saying no, 10 is not less than 10, so we'll come out and finish the program there. Let's try another one underneath. So I want to have a new line first of all. Like that. And this time I'm going to say I is 0 to begin with, then I want I to be less than 10, and I'm going to increment again. And this time it's exactly the same loop which I'm doing, but I just want to show that you can, within the loop, do things like string concatenation. So I'm going to say iteration and I. And each time I'm in the loop, I'm going to write a new line as well. So there's no difference in what this program's doing to the last program above, but I'm just getting it so it displays iteration at the beginning. And it wouldn't have to be that you use I, you could use another variable, so you could be putting hello on the screen 10 times, or doing anything 10 times. So that's how we do something 10 times over. And this iterator here doesn't necessarily have to be going up, so I could count down. And so let's say that I want to count down from 5 to 0. So I'll start off with I being 5, and then I'll say is I greater than 0. This will count down from 5 to 1 actually. And this time I'm going to use decrement. So when it comes in here at the end, instead of incrementing, it's going to decrement. And so this time I'm going to concatenate in my line break there, and let's have a look at what happens. So here we go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it would be possible to change this if you wanted to -1, and that would get me the 0 as well. Another thing that we can do, not only can we count up and count down with my iterator, so I can use plus plus or minus minus, so increment and decrement, it's possible to also maybe count in 2s. So let's say that I want to go I is from 0, I is less than, we'll go for 20 this time, so I will count from 0 to 18, and I is I plus 2, not 1. So let's write I on the screen, and we'll also put a line break in and see what happens there. So here I'm getting 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18. When it adds 2 and gets 20, 20 is not less than 20, so it won't put that on the screen. However, if I was to put 21, then I would get 20 there, or 22 I would as well.